Hi, everybody. Welcome to Writing Gal Pals podcast, where we're going to be talking about books and writing.
Cue the theme song. Okay, Onyx Storm. It happened. It happened on Tuesday.
Yes.
And we need to talk about it.
Yes.
Guys, even thinking about it, I legitimately have a pit in my stomach right now.
I'm a little shaky.
Like, I feel bad. And I don't know how else to explain that.
I feel like I was on an acid trip yesterday. So,
Yeah.
Okay, I really just want to tell you guys about my experience. So my book came in, I think at like 8 p.m. on Tuesday. I read a total of 10 pages. And then through Friday, I was only 100 pages into it. And then yesterday I said, I'm reading this entire damn book. And it's 525 pages. Mm-hmm. So I did that. I did that yesterday. I took a break. I took a break to go to Trader Joe's. But I think I read for a total of 7 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And by the end of it, it was like 9 o'clock. And I'm laying on the couch, and Andre's like, do you want to take a break and watch some Rick and Morty? And I was like, no. Am I getting a little delusional in my head? Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, I am. And so then I was reading the last chapter, and I was like, I don't know what the hell is happening.
Yeah.
If it's like my brain, because I've been reading for so long, or if it's like what's happening in the book. Mm-hmm. So then I read some theories.
Wait.
And discovered it wasn't just me.
Okay, I was going to say, I feel like I've seen some discourse of people being confused by the first 7 or 8 chapters and then feeling very out of it by the last. I would say by the time Taryn leaves with Tiny's body, people get confused by what happens all the way through to the end. Mm-hmm. And I would agree with that. I felt a little bit confused by all the names that were introduced to us.
Too many names.
In the first 7 chapters.
Could not agree
so
more.
many names, so many people, and there were a lot of moving parts. Like the fact that Xaden was a lieutenant, became a duke, became a professor.
Oh my gosh, yes, all the titles.
So that was overwhelming. Yeah. I don't think that I was really bothered by how confused I was in the first part because I didn't do a reread. So I was like, sure, this is my own fault. The ending, I think, is intentionally meant to be chaotic.
Yeah, for sure.
What did y'all think about the multiple POVs?
I hated it.
I don't like that either because she spent the entire book in one, and then all of a sudden, and I get why. I understood why we needed to see Imogen.
But I didn't get one.
Yeah, no.
Lily,
okay, go Lily.
Well, I don't have a thought. I just have like a really burning need to tell you guys something.
Okay,
Tell us.
The reason why I didn't find any of that book surprising. Not a single bit of it took me off guard. There were so many leads up, like so many references to Xaden getting married, to Xaden having an heir. So many. I was like, well, okay, that might be something. My gut instinct before I went into this book is I told my roommate, I said, 100% she's going to separate them by the end of this book. And you guys know that I like to read the last sentence of the book.
Oh my gosh.
That's right.
So when I opened that package, I read the last sentence
You
of
did
that
not.
book.
Oh
Yep.
my god.
Wait, what is the last sentence?
Imogen says, I did what you told me to
do.
Yeah.
However, as you guys are aware, when there is a font change on the last page of something, your eyes are drawn to that.
Oh, for sure.
And Xaden's, like, what the part where he says, like, it's yours now, don't come looking for me or whatever. After I read Imogen's sentence, my eyes just naturally went to that sentence, and I was like, so I was right. So so going into that, I knew that he was going to leave at some point. I've read enough books where the main hero turns into the villain, and he has to leave for the sake of his loved one. Mm-hmm. I was not surprised by that.
Okay.
I was not surprised by them, them getting married. I was not
that
surprised.
Surprised me.
I was
Me
not
too.
surprised by Imogen erasing Violet's
That
memory.
Okay, wait.
That
One thing
surprised
though,
me.
I was actually kind of pissed that they're like, "Oh, we're married," and then I was like, "But I
Yes.
wanted to see the wedding."
No, so
I'm sure that's going to be the next book.
I say, like, I wasn't surprised by any of it. I was caught off guard that we are also missing the 12 hours.
Okay, theory time, real quick.
Yeah.
Because, all right. So I heard someone say that Dane is going to be the missing piece.
That's what
Wait,
I've heard
like,
that too.
he's
Oh, because
got
he
the
has the memory. Because he really didn't do much.
What
I mean,
do you mean?
I've been impressed with him, but like he hasn't done much.
What do you mean he has the missing piece? The whole point of the book was he was so obsolete.
No. No, he has the
Or-
memory.
The
He
me-
has
her
the
memory.
of the wedding, and so
Or at least he
he'll
can
touch
get
her.
it for her.
Right.
Oh, well, I was also thinking that Imogen knew what that was. I was also thinking, I've got theories about where Garrick is. I've told them to Casey
Yes.
already. And it's a pretty damn good theory.
So that's, people are like, can Imogen see what she erases? 'Cause
Yeah,
if she
right.
can, then she has
So
that.
here, I have two thoughts about that, okay? And this is partially why I'm irritated by the fact that there were so many POV changes at the end. The last two books, it's always been Violet, and then the last chapter in Xaden.
Yeah.
So I assumed we'd see the wedding. I assumed we'd see them say goodbye to each other. So I was only surprised, and I assumed that Imogen was going to erase either Xaden or Violet's memories. So none of that was a surprise to me. I was caught off guard that we couldn't see it because I thought we'd get it from Xaden's point of view. I think the confusion of that last chapter of Violet not knowing where she was, I think, and there's that reference that Garrick is missing. There's missing riders and dragons. There are missing
Dragon
there are dead.
eggs.
Yes. And there are dead riders and dragons. And also the overarching question mark of who is Xaden's new brother.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think it's Bodhi.
Okay.
Totally.
It's 100% Bodhi because that's why Xaden married Violet, because Bodhi can't be the heir.
That's what I thought.
But
Okay.
she can take it over.
I
And
couldn't
she
tell
promised
it-
to do it from the beginning.
I honestly couldn't tell if I was just confused by what he was referencing as a brother.
Me too.
Because obviously Bodhi came to my head, but then I was like, wait a minute, he's not even in this description. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there wasn't even a hint of it. I was like, am I just mincing words right
No,
now?
I think
so that's
it-
where I was the most confused. That was
well,
it.
Xaden put it, there was a specific thing where he said he watched me struggle for the
Yes,
last 4
exactly.
months. 2 guys watched him struggle, Bodhi and Garrick.
And Garrick.
I don't think Garrick is missing. I think Garrick's with Xaden. My theory is that Imogen, because the last time we saw Imogen, she was with Garrick, if I'm not mistaken. When Quinn dies,
Yeah.
Garrick transports the 3 of them, and then he says he's going to go find a way to get back, and Imogen goes after him. And then the next thing we see of Imogen is that she's with Violet.
Right.
Wouldn't it stand to reason that probably Garrick was there too?
Yeah.
I think it's the 2 dragons, Xaden, Violet, Garrick, Imogen, and whoever it was that married them. I think...
Which is the goddess priestess lady.
Right,
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it would be her. Okay. So I think those were the witnesses. I don't know how many people whose mind Imogen erased.
Oh,
But I
that's true.
kind of feel like she erased... I think she knows what happens. Can she erase her own mind? I don't know. But she definitely saw that wedding happen.
I don't.
The other thought was that what if Violet, since she can walk in dreams, like she walks in somebody's dream and that's how she accesses.
I
it.
think
what
that's
Something
how
has
she
to
did
happen
it.
with that
That's
because
how
enough
her and
hasn't.
Xaden, I think.
I
are
think that's how
gonna
she's going to do it.
communicate,
I think
yeah.
all of the next book, they're not going to be separated. I think we're going to keep seeing them run into each other.
I hope she's preggers.
I hope
Just,
she's
it's happening at some point.
I hope she's not.
We have
Both of
2
you.
that want it
She's
not.
too young.
I
She
know.
has to do too
Nah.
much. She has to save the world.
Exactly.
And save
Not to
Xaden.
spoil
But they do talk a
another
lot about
series,
heirs.
But yes, in
What?
another series, it's like this young person's like, oh, I want to experience the world and not have kids.
And then ends up with
immediately,
babies.
Like,
Yeah.
Let's have a
Kara,
bunch
did you
of
guys
kids.
did you guys read the Vampire Academy series?
Bro, I have all of them. My paper is yellow because I literally have plans to reread that series.
Every single one of my theory was based on when Dimitri
Oh my
turns to
gosh.
Roy.
Pause. That's all I could think about when I was reading this book. I was like, God, I have to read book 5 of Vampire Academy. Oh my God, that's like one of my.
End of book 2. I love that book series. Did
I'm
you
so
watch
happy.
the movie?
Yes, and I
Did you
fucking
watch the
loved
TV
it.
show? Both of them never got renewed, and I got
didn't know
really
there was
mad.
a TV show.
Yeah, girl. Yeah, they did the TV show of the first book. It's a first season, and it didn't get renewed.
I love Zoe Deutsch. She's like
Deutsch,
one of
yeah.
my favorite
yeah.
actresses.
She was so funny.
But
she led that movie.
okay, can we talk about the series later at some point? Because Vampire Academy is like literally
It's so
like
good.
Me
that.
and Michelle are
Yeah, I
just
know. We're like,
yep.
yep.
Holy
Yep.
shit!
Well, guys, guess
Okay.
what? You're gonna have
That's
to read
what
that.
we're reading.
Yeah. Did you read the spin-off series?
Because I started to.
Oh my God.
We'll pause. So that's why I wasn't surprised by any of this. I wasn't surprised by any of it because I guess in some part I have already spoiled something for you guys in Vampire Academy, but
It's
the
okay. I
main
didn't
guy,
internalize.
Yeah, I know.
the main guy turns into a bad vampire. He is a human. He gets turned into a bad vampire. And one of the books...
And it's super sexy.
And one of the books, her entire mission is to find him and kill him. And then when she fails at that, to find a cure for him. So I thought, part of me thought that this book was going to be Xaden left early. Thrilled that he never did.
So happy.
I love that we got him until the end.
Yeah.
But I really thought he was going to leave early. And she was going to try to find a cure. And when she couldn't do that, she was going to try to kill him. So switch it. I think because he left at this one, there's a possibility that the next book, because Andarna's kind, the Irids, said there is no cure, and he's full Venin now, I think there's a possibility that in trying to find a cure, or she might end up trying to kill Xaden. She might end up trying to go after him.
Yeah. I think there's going to be at least a decision point there, for
and
sure.
She's either going to still try to find a cure, or she's going to accept there is no cure and try to kill him and along the way find a cure.
Yeah.
I am not.
Oh, I hope so.
I am
I cannot
not
handle if it ends with her like killing.
No. I am not out of the belief, and here I'll tell you why. I've got so many thoughts, you guys. I'm sorry if I'm leading this conversation, but I have been sitting on this since like
Go for
Wednesday.
it.
So, I think she will find a cure. I think that is. Or like if it's not an actual cure, it's a way like to give the magic back or something like that.
Ooh, I have a theory on that.
Okay, and the reason why I think they're in game, one, is because Rebecca Yarros, first and foremost, is a romance writer.
Yep. Yeah.
She's not a rom-com writer, and this is her only romantasy. Everything else she writes, it's military-based, but it's romance.
And you know what's
there
interesting?
Are happily ever afters.
Is like her writing is the strongest in the sex scenes. Like you can tell.
Oh, for sure.
It is good.
Yeah.
It is good.
Because she's a romance writer. The other reason why I think they're in game is because there is no way that there's going to be a love triangle. Everyone expected it to be Halden when she wrote him as clearly an asshole.
I never
It
thought
was
that.
shut down so quick.
It was shut down so quick. She
Yeah.
said, guys, it is Xaden for Violet and it is Violet for Xaden. And what does that mean in the end? Does it mean they both die? Maybe, but it does not mean that they end up with someone else.
I never, there isn't, even with Dane, I didn't even think there was like this tug pull, like.
Right.
Can I tell you guys, I felt so silly. So when I was reading Iron Flame, I told my roommate, I was like, dude, I think this Prince Auric might be a love interest for book 3 because I had Iron Flame spoiled for me. Okay, so I knew I didn't even get to do that for myself. Okay,
Yeah.
it was spoiled for me.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't even get to read the last page and put any conclusions together. I saw a TikTok that they told me something that happened, and I was like, whatever. I told my roommate that when I was reading it, I was like, so obviously Xaden's going to have to leave in the next book. And if that's the case, I think this Prince Art guy is going to be a love interest.
I thought the same thing.
Whoosh,
never
right over
did.
my head.
Yeah.
I had no idea she dated his brother.
His brother. That was
Once-
fun. That was a fun
Once
twist.
that
Yeah.
came in, I was like, oh, he was never going to
Yeah.
be the issue. And also, Halden is so clearly never going to be
No,
a love
he's-
interest.
no.
Dane is not going to be a love interest.
I will say though, Ark is like my favorite.
I like him.
love him. I
really
love him
like
so
him.
much. I even looked at John and I was like, he's so fucking gonna save the day in some way. He's gonna be a part of this.
Yeah.
I love him. I love his personality. I wish he was more. Like I hope he comes
hope
into
he
more.
will.
I feel like
more.
he will. He can't have that signet
Yes.
of like seeing the future.
Oh,
without
right, and then
being
not-
super
yeah,
important.
absolutely.
And the fact
100%.
that he was doing, like, there were these little breadcrumbs. Like, I know that I'm already, like, once I've been a little bit removed from just, like, how emotional I felt about that book, I have to show you guys something. I took a photo of what I looked like after I finished it, okay?
You know who I did not like in the book?
Oh my god.
Oh,
Really?
That was
This is Lily just
11:55
devastated.
PM. I'm
Oh
in
my
tears.
gosh, that doesn't
It's a
even look
live-
like you.
It's a
You're
live video.
melting.
Look at my lip. My lip is wobbling. I was in tears. And I started crying the minute Andarna left, and
my
I cried
gosh.
through the entirety of that book. I was like, I can't read anything because I've got tears in my eyes.
Who's your least favorite?
Cat drove me insane. I was like, can somebody please kill this bitch off? Like, why is she so
he's the
thirsty
guy that
after
loved
Xaden? I know. I was like, why did they not kill her instead? Honestly.
Yeah.
Why did
just
they even
upset.
introduce a love interest for her just to kill him?
I
know.
agree. That seemed a little odd.
It
Like,
did
she's
seem
gotta
odd.
have something to do in the future.
Is it just
Especially to
because-
get her away from Xaden, because I did like that, and I did start to like her, to be
I
honest.
actually do like
I
Kat.
did
But
a little
yeah.
bit, yeah.
No, but I understand.
don't
But
hate her.
I agree with you that it was like, all right, girl, get over it, like whatever.
Yeah.
But I loved that she was, because I'm terrible at pronouncing names, but I was Tegan, how do you say his name?
Oh, I have
I
no
don't know
idea.
either.
And
Oh, okay.
I just want
Okay,
to
cool.
throw back
Good,
to the
good.
beginning when Lily said tiny.
I
And
know,
In my
I was
head,
like,
I say
okay.
Tien.
Yeah.
I'm like,
She's
who's
tiny. The only reason why I know she's tiny is because I listened to the audiobook of the first book.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
I have a good idea of how to pronounce
Okay,
all the
names.
dragons'
please
names.
correct me because I will
but
say
her-
all of them wrong.
No, so I listened to the first half of the audiobook and I hated the narrator's
Yeah.
voice. So I said, someone with a physical copy, give it to me right now. I will not finish this book if I have to listen to it.
Yeah.
The first time I saw Tiny written out, I said, in my head, Tiny was how that name was spelled. So no,
Tiny.
she's
Okay.
tiny.
What did y'all think about the silver hair thing?
So I'm so happy that was explained, because it was like halfway,
it?
yeah.
Whoa,
Well, not explained. Okay,
Girl.
so sorry, not explained. But there was a connection made to like
The
We got
source of
so
it.
The source
many
of it.
answers in this book,
Because-
so I'm happy about that.
yeah, because I was like halfway through this, and I'm like, am I missing the hair thing? Like, I did not know where that was going. So it was at least, okay, so you're right, not explained, but there was a connection that I was excited about.
Can we at least all agree that we know that her dad tried to, is it devote?
I love Daddy.
Dedicate.
Dedicate.
Yes.
Daddy.
So the dad tried to dedicate her.
Yes.
For what purpose?
So I think there's a reference when she's talking to Brennan, and Brennan says something like, Dad always thought you were perfect, but we know that Violet was like weak and had that fever, right?
Okay.
So I think there's mention of like dedicating children to the gods and goddesses to like strengthen them. So I think that was the goal, was to like save her body.
And the reason why he was unsuccessful is because the goddess said that she had an unclear path, and this unclear path was because someone whose heart beats for her will take dark magic, and they wanted her to come back and complete the dedication process when she knew what her path would be. Is that why it wasn't successful?
That's what I
I
understood,
think
to be honest.
so, that
yeah.
she had to choose that path.
Camera just died.
She had to choose if she was going to go down the Venin path, which they assumed meant she was going to turn Venin, or
Right.
the pure path.
Yeah.
And when it was clear,
It's okay.
it's still your mic. When it was clear that that wouldn't happen, I don't even remember what I was saying. But basically, like, it was unsuccessful because they could not determine she was going to have a clear path to being a
I
priestess,
think she
right?
couldn't be fully dedicated until then.
And it was something she had to do.
And maybe it was because she's like, I'm going to say this name wrong too, Theophany.
Theophany is
Oh,
how
I
would
loved
pronounce
her.
it.
She was a
So
good
was
villain.
she
She was a
not
good villain.
kind of like what Violet could
Yes,
have been?
she was,
been that.
and they're like nuns, right? Is that,
Yeah.
is that
That's
how
how
I'm
I
getting
took
it?
it,
Okay,
yeah.
so yes, that's who she would have not
Yeah.
become, but
But
the path
kind
that she would have
of,
been
yeah.
on. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then clearly it was done without Mama Sorrengail's
Yes.
For sure.
confirmation.
Yes.
Or approval.
Approval.
And so that is the silver hair thing, right? Like the only
Okay,
potential question mark is why her dad did it in the first
So
place.
I have a unhinged theory that
Let's hear
probably
it.
doesn't make
I just
any.
touched your boob. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But so do I.
Yeah, this one is.
Let's hear
It's
it.
a little okay, and I'm kind of putting it together in my head right now. But they mention only in like the first book that Violet was born with the fever,
Right.
Right. Her mom says like that fever made you weak.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get the letter from someone writing to General Sorrengail saying like we couldn't find a cure. There is no cure.
Mm-hmm.
So she was asking someone for a cure.
and people assumed it was for Venin.
So I think it was still for the venin.
Okay.
My thought is what if, so Violet was, unsure where she was going to go. Could she not have been born with some sort of like already drawing magic when she was born? And
Maybe.
like born with like, if she has that veninness in her.
That's
choosing.
very aligned with my theory.
So something
so
like
tell
that.
us yours then.
No,
Yeah.
it's like
oh, it's
basically
the same?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I always thought her hair had to do with like when we see venin drain the magic and
Yeah.
it takes the color
Exactly.
out.
That's
like
what I
she
thought,
loses
too.
the color in her hair, so it has to have something
Maybe-
to do with that.
Like, I'm so used to, because this is where my head keeps going. Like, I'm so used to like the chosen one
Yeah.
trope, and like I don't know. Have
That's
we?
what I thought. I thought she
Yeah,
was
have
the
we like
chosen
gotten
one.
into that at all
I
with
thought
this?
no
Is that
one
just where my
else
head
had
is?
silver hair.
Yeah, she was the chosen one
So
for
when
something.
There's a whole island full of it. I was like,
Yeah.
Bummer.
Yeah.
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 But it also is like a fun rabbit hole for us to go down in the
Yeah.
next book.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
for
what
sure.
if it is both? What if it is that she was already exhibiting Venom powers, and her dad tried to dedicate her, while her mom was trying to cure her, and all that potential, like all that prophecy from that goddess did was maybe even confirmed to her mom that, oh, she could potentially be a Venom.
Right.
But it turns out she wasn't ever going to do that.
Yeah.
And
Just the love of
Zayden
it.
And
Yeah.
okay, and like
which R.I.P.
Yeah.
When he said, "Stop, it's me, my heart beats for her," I was like, okay. I don't know why I'm gonna cry. That
Oh my
fucked me up.
Wait, I had such an opposite reaction. I was like, ugh, cringe.
Oh, I loved it.
Well, you know what's funny is, and I know you guys read so much more romance than I ever do. There was definitely, and I actually really do enjoy the way she writes sex scenes. I think she does do it beautifully. But I definitely started skimming, and I was like, I did look at John, and I was like, there's this whole theme of this book of that they can't touch each other. I'm like,
Yeah.
Jesus
Loved it.
fucking Christ, I was so over it.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
I was so with you, Michelle.
Are you kidding me? I was like, give me more. Give me instant edging or constant edging.
Yeah.
Give me like the hidden glances, like only dry hump. Give
Yeah.
me everything.
Okay, my only
besides having
problem
so
is
sex.
like, where is the common sense of like we have to stop sexy time for a
No,
little
like,
bit?
the
Like,
common sense,
clearly,
yeah.
like he is about to turn
How
into
logical
like
you're
an
being,
evil
yeah.
demon.
Yeah.
You
Like,
guys, they
can we
had
just
sex
chill?
twice. Was that too little for you?
No,
That
no,
was
no, no.
too
But
much?
but there were so many intense moments of like, no, we can't, and I'm like, okay,
and
we
then
get
but
it.
then immediately he kisses her and she's like, okay. I'm
I
like,
know.
Violet, come on,
I know,
a little
self-control.
restraint. Yeah.
I'll just have to agree to disagree. I loved every cheesy moment.
I mean, listen, I enjoyed the moment when it happened.
I loved.
but I'm like,
well,
this
I
is a
loved
bad idea.
how much he was like so outwardly affectionate to her. It was such a nice change of pace from like the first two books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say he was affectionate during the first one, but he also like legitimately hated her for half that book. And then the second one with the back and forth of
Oh,
that-
you're holding secrets.
Oh my god.
Oh, I was over that. I was so
Yeah.
over that. I
You
was
have
like,
to ask
girl,
the right
he is trying to
questions,
save
blah,
the
blah.
world.
Yeah.
He is allowed to have a couple secrets.
Yes.
I was so frustrated with her then.
I loved all of the fact. I love that they were on the same page.
Yeah.
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 Quote unquote the same page in terms of just like at least their affection for each other and
Yeah.
how much they mean to each other in this book.
For sure.
Right.
So I don't know. I kind of just liked that. I mean, sure, I understand the whole like saving the world thing and like he is becoming a soulless monster, but like I get it. He's hot. I'd take a minute.
But he's hot.
He is hot.
I'd take a minute.
I'm curious about y'all's thoughts on like the writing itself.
Okay, so I thought it was on par with the other two books. I do though. Just I think if the intent was for her to make us confused, she succeeded. But I don't think she did it well enough that I feel satisfied by it. Like I think the writing in those last few chapters especially was not strong enough for me to be able to follow all of the little maybe Easter eggs that she dropped. And
I
if she's
totally
trying
agree.
to hide them, that's fine. I think like that's how it should be done. It should be hidden. It should be a lot of information thrown at us so we can maybe misread something.
Right.
But I think she took it a step too far. It is almost impossible for me to know
follow.
exactly what
It's
happened.
just like a
Well,
tornado.
because
of
like I was kind of with you, where I started to like skim at the end, and I was excited, but I was also like, it felt like she was just so excited to write all of this stuff out,
yeah.
and then she didn't take a moment to step back and be like, I should cut this.
Yes.
That's a good way to put it.
You
Yes,
know,
that is a
this-
really good way.
Yeah.
It was really hard to jump from character to character, and
Yeah.
And characters I didn't really
When-
care about.
And like, okay,
Yeah.
Rhiannon.
I'm sorry when
why-
Quinn died, but I did not give a
I don't
shit.
give a shit.
I know. I felt bad about
I
Quinn.
felt
I
bad
felt bad
about
Quinn
Quinn.
because of Imogen, and I didn't
Yeah.
really like her, and that was
I
like
still
her.
cried when
Yeah.
Imogen was dying. She was like, "It's been an honor to." I was like, "Stop."
We made it a good one. Yeah.
Bless
Yeah.
you. But what were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
But so Rhiannon, so this was my biggest issue with the ending because Violet is fighting Theophany or whatever her name is, and they're fighting, and Violet's thinking, I'll never be the stronger one. But
She
she
is.
looks to the side and she says, she is. And then the next chapter, the next page
Rhiannon.
is Rhiannon. And I was like, oh my gosh, is Rhiannon about to fight Theophany?
But then Rhiannon was nowhere
But
near
it's
her.
totally separate.
Yeah.
And I was the whole time I was waiting for her to come help Violet.
I actually forgot about that. Now that you're saying that, because
And
I remember
was
kind of
so
reading that too.
confused. Like, why did we need this?
Yeah.
Well, and
at all?
also, isn't the next time we see Violet, she's looking back at
Whatever.
Theophany.
Theo.
Yeah.
Wasn't she looking
I
back
shortened
at
everything
Theo?
in my
So I
head.
was like, is she trying to talk? Who was she looking at to the side?
Yeah.
There was a lot
I
of
Was
so
she
confusing.
looking also potentially at Andarna?
Oh, maybe.
Because Andarna was cloaked at that point. She was in her little
Maybe.
invisibility scales. Did she somehow see Andarna out of this corner of her eye and realize, like, Andarna is really going to be the thing that
Maybe.
saves everything? But we aren't made aware of it until the next chapter when we're with Violet and everything goes down with Violet and Andarna appears again. Which, that confused me. I hated that, too. Like, when she left and then all of a sudden
She's
she was
back.
back,
There's no explanation.
Okay, I
don't
think
that.
you're right, though,
understand.
when you were texting me and you said maybe
she wasn't there or she never left.
either she never left or I think more like she didn't choose to have the bond severed, Andarna.
Oh,
because
he did it.
he did it
His
for
guy
her.
did it. Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
reread
It
it,
happened
after
so
you
suddenly.
texted me. Yeah, because Andarna thinks
It
like
did.
I don't know how, and then it cuts off.
Yes.
and then
She
Violet
roars.
says, "Yeah, there's a wall that goes up. She can't feel her anymore." Then Andarna roars and she's looking around like, and Violet says it seems like she wants to say something.
Yeah, yeah.
And then she flies away. So it
You're probably
doesn't
right.
seem like Andarna would say goodbye.
Yeah, for sure.
And my theory to Casey about that, because we had questions about the connection between Xaden, Sigale, Taryn, and Violet, right? So my theory with the whole Andarna thing is after Andarna left, even if it was, which that's a really good point that you just made, even if it was to fly off with whatever the
other
Irid's
one,
name
yeah.
was, to maybe even get that bond back, Violet was still able to dreamwalk.
Right.
So did that connection actually get severed? Like, I don't think it necessarily did. And maybe Andarna, like, flew in. I originally said that the Irid was trying to make it seem like Andarna would no longer be a help to them. But I like your theory better that he took it away from her before she had a chance to make that decision.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. And then she came back to, like, protect.
And,
she
yeah.
revealed herself to Violet in that moment when she looks to the side,
Right.
says that comment about it being her, and then we see her that next chapter that we're with Violet. I like that.
Just to kind of go back and comment on the writing and like the confusion. And I know we keep talking about how confusing it was, but I definitely, there was a moment of, so it's funny when last year's Right Chair, and when I first submitted stuff, people, I think it might have even been you, Gigi, that commented on like something I was kind of trying to just hint at and like be mysterious about. And they're like, you've got enough mystery over here. Like just be like upfront about this, because then it just gets confusing. And that's almost what I felt like with this. Like, because every single thing, like almost every page was like this hidden, what do you mean by that? And it's like, there's so much stuff going on. There's so many names you're trying to track down. There's way too much going on. I think that's what it was. Like she was trying to throw too much mystery in there when really we just needed answers,
something
to hold on to, like, because I just like, and it was funny because I did that too. So Saturday I read for like forever. I did nothing. I got up, I literally got up to go work out in my garage because my body was sore from laying all day. Like, I'm not even kidding. I was like, I gotta fucking move I gotta do something.
I did it on the front end. I read the first half of the book in one
like
day.
that. Yeah. You
And
took
then
off work.
I split up.
Yep.
And then I split up the last part of it, but I still was reading that last part like late into the evening, so it felt like a fever dream. But
Totally.
Well,
the whole book
so
did.
that's like, by the time, I think I didn't finish the last 5 pages, and I woke up this morning and finished the last 5, because I was like, my head hurts. Like I couldn't,
even make it.
so I couldn't really tell how much was me and how much was just that confusing. But it sounds like we all were.
This is kind of like, this is a frustration I had with Iron Flame that I think is also being has made itself apparent in Onyx Storm. Iron Flame could have been 2 books. Like, it was so much
or
happened.
one heavily edited.
I think a heavily edited
Heavily
book
edited.
would have.
Or sure, heavily edited, but the way she published it, there was enough material for there to be 2 books, and I think it would have splintered when they went to Erasure with the Griffins.
Right. They
Because
leave the
that's
Okay.
So because it just felt like there was way too much information. I was like, this felt like I read 3 books in one. That's how overwhelming it was to me. I felt the same for Onyx Storm because of how much information.
There was a lot, yeah.
So, Fourth Wing was like the perfect amount of information. It was the
very
perfect amount of like
well-paced.
like little like breadcrumbs for
Easter
us to
eggs.
follow, Easter eggs. Iron Flame and Onyx Storm, there was just information overload. Maybe actually information overload in Iron Flame and information provided in Onyx Storm, but then in that last bit, she introduced way too many unanswerable questions.
No, you're good.
I was just gonna say I was so excited when I opened this book and there were the names and the dragons and there's
Yes.
and then I'm like. Every time I went back to look, I was like, well, where's this person? I'm like, you needed to do a whole index of names and dragons and powers.
All the relics,
yeah.
guys, the girls have 2 signets now, too, so it's not that fucking rare.
Yeah.
That's lame. Yeah. Also,
Venom are everywhere.
Hated her second signet.
The dream walking?
Yes.
I thought it was really disappointing too.
I read it and I was like, wah, wah.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for her to do more with it because I agree with you. Like I was like, okay, well, wait a second, like that's not really all that great.
Yeah.
But if she does a lot with this in the next book, I think she could do.
So here's my thought. Oh,
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I think let's wrap it up in the next 5 minutes.
There's gonna be a lot to edit.
I really want to know if y'all are put in order of your favorite to least favorite for the 3 books.
Easy.
I can
do
so
mine.
easy.
Yeah.
I can do it right now.
Fourth Wing, number 1 for sure. Then Onyx Storm. Then Iron Flame.
Mine's the same.
Iron Flame is
100%.
way lower.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know, but I'm rare in the sense that I read them all back to back pretty closely.
But you just most recently read them,
Yes.
so you kind of have the upper hand, I think,
Yeah.
over me.
I think if I reread Iron Flame, I'm gonna like it a lot more.
I think I will too. As it
I
stands,
really liked Iron Flame.
But Fourth Wing, top.
Fourth Wing for sure. I will
just
say that. I will
reread
agree.
both before this, and Fourth Wing
Oh.
is still amazing.
Yeah.
Iron Flame was less annoying because I just skimmed all of the arguments. but-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I actually probably would go with, because you're right, because I probably would go with the same order for that reason. Yeah, but see, I was not confused the first half of this book. It's the second half that I was so confused.
and that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I felt like a lot of people were like, the first chapters were confusing. I was like, that's probably your own fault. I know that it's my own fault because I'm pretty sure all of these people were mentioned in the second book. I just haven't read it in a year.
It was a lot of names. It was a lot of things.
Yeah. I don't know.
All right, everybody, share your closing thought. Whatever you want to share about the book. Closing thought.
I thought it was good. I liked that we got a lot of answers to, or the start to answers to a lot of questions that we've had since book 1. I did not love the ending, not just because she separated them. And I just did not love how I have no idea what really happened. And I don't mean the missing 12 hours. I mean what was written on the page confused me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I agree with the ending. Just it felt like there needed to be another page or 5, just kind of give. And I think that's obviously Rebecca Yarros's thing is end on a cliffhanger so everyone talks about it, and I'm sure it's effective. But I would like a little bit more of okay, wrap this book up. We're gonna buy the next one. So yeah, I would like a little bit of clarification. But my last thing is I'm so concerned about Taryn, and I think that him and Sigale had their mating bond severed by Andarna.
So, all right, my closing thoughts are totally different. Number 1 is there was just not enough Taryn in the book. I love Taryn, and I needed more snappy, snarky dialogue. Secondly, I think if I was playing a drinking game, for the amount of times she said Onyx, I would be.
Oh my gosh.
I noticed that too.
Very drunk.
One mention of Onyx Storm, though.
Yeah.
There's only one
Only
mention
one.
of Onyx Storm.
And then finally, I thought Violet was way less whiny.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed her stepping up as a protagonist in the novel. And that's it. Period. Michelle.
Actually, so you said opposite of theirs, but I agree with all of you. I love your assessment. Casey, I agree that I think that their bond is severed, and that's really sad.
Yeah.
I agree that it wasn't enough at the end. There was just so much going on so quickly, and then it was done.
Yeah.
I also will just say that I'm super, super happy I read them all because I didn't know if I would have ever picked them up. So yeah, I love this. And there was a part of me that was like, fuck, 2 more books. And then I was like, yes, 2 more books. So it was a little bit of both.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited.
TV show.
Yeah, I know. Super excited.
I'm so
Yeah.
excited for that.
One thing that I did see, though, about going off of the last page and reading and everything like that, I saw an interview when she did her event at, I think it was Barnes and Noble for the midnight release, and someone asked like what her favorite chapter was, and she goes, I couldn't tell you the chapters because I just don't know what they are. She's like, but the last page I've had in my mind since writing Fourth Wing.
Aww,
wow.
I kind of love that.
So when it comes to like books 4 and 5, like I think, and this is the only thing that's making me feel like, okay, I'm gonna keep suffering emotionally. I love the books. I don't suffer reading them, but just like suffer emotionally is because she clearly has had this in mind since the start, and it's not something she's making up on a whim.
While she goes.
So I think I'm hanging in with the chaos because I really do have hopes that
it's going somewhere.
That it's going somewhere, and it will all be explained. And when book 5 comes out, I'll have this reread, and it'll be just this beautiful masterpiece where I'm like, oh my God, that was planted in book 1. That's crazy.
I'm just excited to see what the next cover looks like.
Yeah.
I know. Okay, have y'all seen how it fades the colors when you line up all 3?
No.
So if you put them on top of each other, it goes from gold to like red to black, and now it's going to silver.
Because it's all the magic is being sucked out of it.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
That is cool.
I never would have known that. Yeah.
It's very cool.
Amazing. Do we want to spend like 10 minutes talking about ourselves and our writing?
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll introduce myself. I'm Gigi. Hi. I'm looking at the camera that's dead.
Great. Hi, camera.
It's okay. It's all right. We'll still put up a video of sorts. And I am, I would say 2/3 of the way through my second draft of a zombie-esque novel. And I say zombie-esque because although there are zombies, they are, they're not the pivotal part of the story. The novel's based in South Carolina. Our protagonist is a young adult woman who is badass. And I would like to publish it traditionally. So I'm working really, really hard to make it happen. Not make it happen, because I'm working hard to start querying by my birthday, which is April 3rd. And happens to be the same exact birthday as Casey's, which is like really honestly kind of
it's amazing,
bizarre and amazing. And that's where I'm at with my writing process. Who's next?
Awesome.
It's cool. Yeah.
Well, birthday buddies. I'll go next.
Yeah.
So, I'm Casey. I just finished my first draft of a romance novel. Wrote fantasy before that, so Onyx Storm is just, the two put together. Perfect. I am not very far into the second draft of my romance novel because of Onyx Storm.
Yes.
So that's what hopefully after we record this, I will get a little further into it. Yeah.
I'm Lilly. I write nonfiction, so I write collections of essays, essentially, and I'm slowly but surely putting them out there for publication.
When is your first one getting published, by the way?
I don't have any idea.
Did you submitted it, though?
I submitted it.
Good.
She said she'd review it and, get back to me.
Good.
So hopefully sooner than later.
Oh, that's so exciting.
It's been a very long, I don't know, maybe 5 years of actively trying to get things published, so I guess that's just how the writing world goes, especially for, period in general. I think that's hard to get things published, no matter if you're, doing things through literary magazines or publishing actual books like you guys want to do. But the literary journal world is very hard.
Yeah,
and the online
very
magazine
competitive
stuff is very hard. So, I'm just glad to be in this group with you guys and be able to at least just continue to write and stuff like that and feel inspired.
But Lilly, there's something else that you do book related.
Ooh. Yes, thank you. I own a romance mobile bookstore in Greenville called Swoon Booksellers.
Yes.
And it is very exciting, and I get to be obsessed with the darkness in my own life and my writing and celebrate the happiness and joy that's in romance books and also sometimes the darkness in romance books. So it's the best of both worlds for me. I get to write and read and
And we should actually mention too, Casey, there is something else book related that you do.
Oh, yes. I have yet another podcast because one isn't enough. So me and my husband started a podcast called My Fantasy Husband because I love Throne of Glass, and I convinced him to read it last year. And actually last week he finished the last book.
Incredible.
So, yeah, it's been fun.
Can't wait for him to read Fourth Wing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm
next?
like hoping it's next. We're gonna poll everybody and see. I think it'll either be that or ACOTAR. So
Yes.
we'll see.
Oh my god! I didn't know that he hadn't read that.
Yeah, he's only read Throne of Glass and Aragon. So
Oh, Aragon. What a classic.
it is. Yeah.
Michelle.
Awesome. Michelle, so I am working on, I do write fiction. I am working on a book. I'll get to my first draft soon. I wrote and self-published a book years and years ago. It's been about a little over 10 years. I took it down right away.
But it's awesome.
No, I took it down right away. Well, right away is dramatic. It was about a couple months. And I was like, no, it's one of those things. I was just turning 30 and it was like a time thing for me, like stupidly a time thing for me. And I was like, nope, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I put it out there and I shouldn't have. But it's fine. And so I'm just really loving getting back into something that I enjoy doing. And all I want to do is finish something that I love. And so I don't know if I'll self-publish or if I'll even pursue it or what I'll do with it, to be honest, but just happy to be back in it. And I have other ideas, so I'm just excited to keep writing.
And you have something bookish that you do on the side, too.
Oh, yes, my 10 followers on Instagram. I just started to do a bookstagram, and it's called Talking All Things Books. So.
You know what I thought was really cool, Michelle, is that Write Share, which is like a writing class that we do in Greenville, the first intensive that we took, you introduced yourself as a nonfiction writer.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
And then on Thursday this semester, you were like, "I'm Michelle. I write fiction," and I was so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
Because you just wholly embraced it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really funny. I guess because I've always just journaled and like I used to do like blog like articles and would do all of that, and that's probably what I was kind of holding on to. So that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. Well, for our listeners, the way the format of this podcast we're kind of thinking is going to go is that we have a sort of book club, and on the next book we are going to read two of our podcast hosts have already read The Night Circus. We're going to read that, chit chat a little bit about it.
Less than Onyx Storm.
Less than Onyx Storm. This was a special occasion, however.
Yes.
And then we'll talk a little bit about, maybe what we're struggling with in our own writing process, just kind of chatting about our work in progress and anything writing book related that's kind of on our mind. And I don't know how often we'll do this, maybe every 2 weeks, maybe whatever, more or less. Hopefully you come back. Hopefully there's more than 4 people listening to this. And is there anything else we want to share before we hop off today?
Do you want to talk a little bit about writing in some way? I know you had a question for like what your biggest struggle is when you sit down to write.
Yeah. I talked a lot about Onyx Storm, so you can cut me out as much as possible. I have so many thoughts. So if you need to cut me for time, do it.
No, it's just passion.
It's just it's passion.
It
exactly.
is true.
Yes.
True passion.
Or we can save it for the next one, so we like already have something to go off of. I don't know, whatever works. I'm fine.
Let's save it. I think.
Okay,
I think
sure.
we've chatted enough for
I
today.
think so. Yeah, a little intro.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So stay tuned.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.